This is a scene of Chinese aunties and uncles grabbing goods in supermarkets. I ask you, is it shocking? Look at this situation. All this fighting over buying vegetables. A plate of vegetables disappears in an instant. The power of Chinese aunties is indeed extraordinary. These Chinese aunties, or otherwise known in Chinese as dama, are taking the world by storm. A group of middle-aged Chinese aunties are preparing to take photos under a cherry blossom tree. They vigorously shake the trees in order to achieve the effect of falling petals. I wonder if the resulting photos will be beautiful or ugly. There's a video online showing a grand inaugural voyage of a five-star luxury cruise ship from an international company in Shanghai. Many Chinese tourists boarded this cruise with high expectations, looking forward to basking in the charming sea views, 24/7 entertainment facilities and performances, as well as delicious cuisine from around the world. However, to their dismay, they were hit with cringe-worthy spectacles from Chinese aunties and uncles. Firstly, at the free buffet restaurant, even before the dining time, there was a chaotic queue outside the door reminiscent of a zombie apocalypse. The small entrance was jam-packed with elderly people jostling to be first. The 3 or 4 lines of defense were breached early, leaving the staff frantically shouting nearby, don't push, watch your safety." When it came to getting food, the elderly folks didn't understand the concept of take only what you need to avoid waste. It was a battle for who can carry the most. On the cruise, these seemingly feeble elderly suddenly became invincible warriors. Seeing a whole tray of shrimp, they were eager to scoop it all onto their plates, regardless of whether their delicate stomachs could handle it. Some witnesses even observed them eating while queuing, using their own chopsticks to directly grab food from the communal area, an utterly unappetizing sight. There were even fights in the main dining hall. If someone tried to cut in the line ahead of an auntie, she would retaliate by pouring water or milk onto their head. It was truly something to behold. They would grab too much food and then toss it away, throwing entire loaves of bread and eggs. Some aunties even walked off with whole bottles of milk, only to pour it out later when they couldn't finish it. A blogger captured the moment when the service staff on the cruise ship were clearing tables and their faces were filled with helpless expression upon seeing a large amount of wasted food. The blogger remarked that the staff were very enthusiastic on the first day, but by the third day, their attitude towards Chinese passengers had noticeably changed. This video clip has sparked a lot of comments from netizens, among which one wrote, "The most unsightly scene on the Shanghai five-star luxury cruise ship, revealing countless spiritually deprived people. Chinese aunties dance wherever they go, on trains, on platforms, as long as they are breathing. The spirit of Chinese square dancing must exist. Just look at that fierce expression, quite intimidating." After China's rapid economic growth following the reform and opening up, it has taken on the stance of leading the world as a rising great power. One of the most prominent symbols of this is the rise of the Chinese auntie's buttocks. Not only have they amazed the world with their gold buying sprees, but they have also claimed their own space through collective square dancing, showcasing the unique charm of Chinese aunties to the world. Chinese people have a habit of morning exercises, and parks of all sizes resemble playgrounds. Every morning, retired citizens kickstart their day with brief exercises, turning parks and squares into lively hubs of activity. Starting from the 1990s, due to the reform of a large number of state-owned enterprises, tens of millions of employees either retired early or became unemployed. These individuals needed inexpensive forms of entertainment, but there weren't enough public facilities available. As a result, they gathered together and danced in public plaza squares as a form of leisurely activity. In 2015, the Chinese government released 15 sets of square dance routines all at once and vigorously promoted them through CCTV. As the number of participants continues to grow, the scope and scale of square dancing have expanded. Almost every square has square dancing, and aunties and uncles forget about the loneliness after unemployment as they energetically dance. The government also regards it as a symbol of harmony. In November 2015, 18,000 aunties braved the cold drizzle in the outskirts of Beijing, dancing collective square dance to the catchy tune of Little Apple. The number of people dancing simultaneously set a Guinness World Record. After many years of development, square dancing, a popular outdoor exercise among the elderly, has become one of the primary social scenes for older people. According to statistics, in China, the number of people nationwide participating in square dancing reaches as high as 100 million. Accompanied by high decibel sound systems, the dance moves of the aunties fill every square and open space, even occupying sports fields, parking lots, street sides, and roads. Square dancing is like a moving virus, anytime, anywhere. Once the aunties step into the park, they quickly gather together and start dancing. When the aunties board the train, they often start dancing in the aisles, crowding it so much that it becomes hard to pass. When the aunties are stuck in traffic on the highway, they often get out of their cars and dance together. Soon, this ubiquitous square dancing, regardless of scorching heat or bitter cold, day or night, almost reached the point of obsession, becoming a disastrous nuisance that incited widespread complaints. The most intolerable aspect of square dancing is its noise, perhaps due to age-related hearing loss or in order to showcase the beauty of the dance. The aunties often crank up the volume of the accompanying music. Even if nearby high-rise buildings close their doors and windows, the ear-piercing noise cannot be blocked. Adults are unable to rest properly, which affects their work, and children are disturbed to the point where they cannot focus on their studies. Conflicts triggered by square dancing continue to escalate as a result. The dancing aunties, who are always enthusiastic, seem to consider themselves invincible and unbeatable, no matter how others try to dissuade them. They cannot deter the aunties' unwavering determination to dance. The loud noise and endless dancing of the aunties not only disrupt the normal lives of residents, but also anger nearby locals. They finally reach their breaking point and start to retaliate. Some residents resort to pouring water on the square dancing aunties, throwing things, or even throwing feces, but they still cannot dampen the aunties' passion for dancing. In Beijing, there is an elderly gentleman who couldn't stand a group of aunties endlessly dancing. Not only did he release 3 Tibetan Mastiffs to charge towards them, but he also took out his double-barrel shotgun and fired into the air, hoping to drive away these dancing aunties. The man who fired the gun was arrested. He said, "You can dance, just keep the noise down a bit. Why am I so angry?" They leave, and then another group comes, and they even do matchmaking events at night. There are also aunties who have paid the price with their lives for dancing. In May 2023, in Shanghai, Hubei province, a group of aunties danced in the middle of the road at night. The aunties claimed that because they couldn't find a wide enough space, they had to choose the road. Cars didn't dare to hit them, right? But unfortunately, they encountered an irritable driver. The aunties were immersed in their dance in the middle of the road. Suddenly, headlights appeared not far ahead, indicating that a car was approaching. However, the aunties remained unfazed, not even turning their heads. They continued their dance. It seemed they had dealt with this passing vehicles like this before, as other vehicles would typically detour around them. This familiarity made the aunties feel invincible. However, they didn't anticipate encountering a tough opponent this time. The driver accelerated directly towards them, resulting in tragedy in an instant. Only then did the aunties realize something was wrong, as one of them was sent flying by the impact. Afterwards, the driver recalled that when he approached this section of the road, he honked the horn to warn the aunties, but they didn't react. After waiting a few minutes and reaching the limit of his patience, he finally decided to step on the gas and drive through, resulting in the tragedy. On August 9th, 2023, 11 aunties persisted in dancing on the riverbed in Yulin Dam in Yan'an, Sichuan, to showcase their elegance. Unfortunately, they were caught by a sudden flood. In just 10 seconds, all 11 aunties were washed away, resulting in a tragic incident with 7 deaths and 4 injuries. Chinese aunties not only display their power within China, but also venture beyond the borders, overrunning major tourist attractions around the world. An online video shows a group of aunties visiting Red Square in Moscow. As soon as they arrived, they couldn't resist the urge and began enthusiastically twisting their hips, collectively starting a square dance. Some foreigners also joined in. However, this caused a commotion and they were eventually dispersed by local police. Back in August 2013, a local Chinese auntie dance group rehearsed square dancing in Sunset Park, Brooklyn, New York. However, people complained due to the loud music. As a result, the leader was also handcuffed and taken away by the police. There is a video showing that even the front of Louvre Museum in France has been overrun by Chinese aunties. People say that square dancing has an incredible charm. Often, a few people lead the dance, and it results in a large group of people joining in. Square dancing aunties are truly a force to be reckoned with. Why do Chinese aunties and uncles have such dancing talents? In fact, their love for dancing stems from the dance of loyalty during China's Cultural Revolution. During the era of the Cultural Revolution, launched by the Chinese Communist Party, these elderly people were once the Red Soldiers and Red Guards. At that time, under the guidance of the rebel factions, a group of female students hoped to express their admiration for Mao Zedong during their dancing. So they introduced the dance of loyalty. The dance steps were simple and rhythmic, making it very easy to learn. Not dancing meant being disloyal to Mao Zedong, so everyone learned the dance. During that time, no matter what disagreements or conflicts there were among students, as soon as the music for the Dance of Loyalty started playing, everyone immediately moved in unison, perfectly synchronized. This is similar to today's square dancing among the aunties, but with a different context. Essentially, they all followed the rhythm set by the lead. It was easy to learn and follow. When dancing, they forgot all their worries, immersing themselves in joy and self-entertainment. This is also why Chinese uncles and aunties can be super unreasonable, belonging to a generation that behaves arrogantly. The ideology and blood of contemporary Chinese elderly still carry the toxins of the Cultural Revolution era. People often use a phrase to express this phenomenon. It's not that Chinese elders have turned bad, but that the bad people in China have grown old. The dominance of Chinese elderly isn't just evident when they're dancing, it manifests in any situation, showcasing the unique traits of Chinese aunties at all times. According to a report from Daily Headlines, in March 2018, a Chinese rich auntie traveled to Thailand. She went to a local buffet restaurant and showed a particular fondness for seafood. Upon seeing many shrimp in the restaurant, she aggressively grabbed a plate and piled it high with shrimp, pushing aside the Thai diners. After grabbing several plates of shrimp and returning to her seat to start eating, people thought she must have a big appetite to grab so many shrimp. However, they soon realized that she only took a bite of each shrimp before throwing it away. Each shrimp was wasted halfway through eating. This scene caused dissatisfaction among the restaurant staff. After several unsuccessful attempts to advise her, the restaurant owner became angry and kicked the auntie out of the restaurant, stating that they didn't want her money and asking her not to come back to eat again. Many netizens who saw this incident commented that it was truly embarrassing to have such behavior even when abroad. The term Chinese auntie originated 10 years ago from the frenzy of buying gold became famous overnight. The Wall Street Journal even coined the English word dama to describe Chinese aunties. In April 2013, as the international gold prices plummeted and Wall Street Journal financial giants were shorting, a group of Chinese housewives went against the trend and swept up hundreds of tons of gold. After the May Day holiday, even gold shops in Hong Kong were almost out of stock. The term Chinese auntie has thus become famous worldwide. In the late 1980s and early 1990s, China experienced two severe bouts of inflation, especially in 1988. There were serious bank runs and panic buying of goods across the country. The prices of certain goods skyrocketed several times or even tens of times. Comedian Jiang Kun and Tang Jiezhong depicted this scene vividly in their skit In a Hurry, performed at the 1991 Chinese New Year Gala. He said, "Just as I was about to sleep at night, my neighbor, Miss shouted, 'I heard that staple foods will increase in price in a couple of days.' I couldn't sleep all night. The next morning, I bought a full bathtub of vinegar, 2 water tanks of soy sauce, a chest full of Sichuan peppercorns, and a full quilt of yellow bean paste." Those who lived through that era were well aware that even paper money could become worthless. From this perspective, the actions of the aunties in grabbing gold were not intended to challenge financial giants or disrupt the international market. They simply wanted to meet their most basic needs for stability. As one auntie told a reporter from Xinhua news agency, "Preserving value is one aspect, but more importantly, I just like the feeling of this gold and heavy stuff." The most heart-wrenching event prior to inflation was the Great Famine of the 1960s, which resulted in the loss of millions of lives. Many aunties likely carry memories of this famine from their childhood that cannot be erased. A young person who has studied economics in college may have sound reasoning to explain to their mother why it's more cost-effective to throw away leftovers using the principle of sunk costs, but they may never have experienced true hunger themselves. If someone has endured such desperate hunger, even associating hunger with death Their understanding of food goes far beyond viewing it simply as a resource. Exactly. It may seem contradictory that a dama would rush to buy gold in the morning and then diligently eat the leftovers in the afternoon. However, it's not contradictory at all. She's simply living life according to her own understanding and principles. Several decades of social changes have engraved rich rings of time on the Chinese Dhamma. The Chinese we perceive from these Dhammas is much more authentic and vivid than the China depicted in textbooks or at the Chinese New Year Gala. In Western media, Chinese Dhammas or aunties once symbolized China's national strength and were regarded by Chinese people as patriotic and proud. However, with the rise of the Dhamma square dancing, they have often displayed uncivilized behavior, and Chinese Dhammas have now evolved into a special group that brings embarrassment to the Chinese people.